Leos, welcome to your weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast. This is for May 30th through June 5th, 2016. I'm Athen, and this is for Sidereal. If you are new to the channel, be sure to check out the link because the signs are different. All right, so Leo, this week we do have a new moon at the end of the week, which is forming a grand cross in the sky. So this is a time of really working constructively towards new beginnings. And I think for you guys, particularly around your careers, or maybe if it's not a career, maybe your productive life or your public life, which is all this energy up here at the top of your chart with the sun here, and the moon's going to conjoin up to here over the weekend, forming that new moon. And Venus is in the mix. All right, so Venus is already the ruler of your 10th house, really emphasizing new beginnings with that productive side of life, and also new beginnings in terms of your communication, I feel like. Maybe in terms of the exchanges in your career, in your work, or the communication within that, or anything that's really about you understanding more about it, about your career, because Venus, your third house ruler here, is really accentuating this more mental energy here in the 10th. So whatever it is for you personally, and again, this is going to shape up over time. We're just going to be approaching it this week, and over the coming weeks, it'll be much more apparent in terms of where that energy is moving. But this week with the Grand Cross, it's important to be very constructive with all of this. You know, it's during these times that we really build long-lasting things in our life. And this is, again, really pointing towards that 10th house. So with that approach, and I think this week, particularly on the spiritual developmental side of this, and I say that because we're going to be in the balsamic phase of the lunar cycle as we approach that new moon, which is that dying down of energy, that more receptive space, and really listening, right? And again, working on ourselves spiritually with this Grand Cross. So the Grand Cross is pulling on the four major areas of your life, self, relationships, home, and the career front. And the aspects this week are all leading, they're all the same aspects of that new moon, but they're all leading towards that new moon over the weekend. So let's go ahead and break this down in terms of how this is unfolding. We've got Mercury trining up to Pluto Monday and Tuesday, which is nice. Mercury's been very well aspected this past month, roughly. Even though he was retrograde, he was forming some good aspects in the sky. And this is particularly about your adventurous spirit, or your life path, your outlook of life. Maybe what's possible in life. You've been learning a lot about this, I feel like, with Mercury here. So it's a great couple days for this, really tapping into that more expansive view and maybe seeing those possibilities along with the life path and how you can implement perhaps these things on a daily level. Now, as we get into Wednesday and Thursday, about midweek here, we're going to start to feel the first major aspects of this new moon. And this one's going to be the sun squaring up to Neptune. All right, so with this one, this is the Neptune side of it who's been in your relationship sector. All right, so this has been the importance over many years for you to have that acceptance in the relationship area of your life. It might be within relationships. It might be your perspective of relationships. And this is the key is really letting go, because it's through the letting go, it's through the surrender here that it's creating a tremendous amount of spiritual liberation to free you up. This is the area, especially with the South Node here, of your spiritual development at the moment. At least it's one. And so, having that detachment can create the ease, can create that peace, which is coming through your relationship sector, which then does mean that your relationships just have a much more unconditional element to them. They're more present, they're more accepting, and even tranquil and spiritual in many ways too. So that's been ongoing, but this week I think great for working on that spiritual development as well as implementing the uncertainty with your career. This has been a very uncertain year with this T-square with Neptune and Saturn and Jupiter. But now in this Grand Cross, it's really emphasizing that with these new beginnings to implement what we have been cultivating with transcendence, transcending our future projections of things, and really living in the present moment. And again, that can be very spiritually liberating, really assisting these new beginnings. So that's Wednesday, Thursday. Then Thursday and Friday, the sun opposes up to the Saturn side of it. So this is where the home or health sector comes in. For about the past year, it's been important for you to really be patient with and perhaps be disciplined with your either home life and or your health life, right? Really establishing your roots, basically, because it's with these foundations, with our health and with our home that really serve the foundation of life, of the chart. And this is the bottom of the Grand Cross for you as well. So this is a good week for having that attention in your personal life, attention in your home life, with your health, taking that stuff seriously, working on that. Again, a lot of this is reflective. Mars is retrograde, who rules your fourth. Saturn's retrograde in the fourth. But that's okay. It's still, putting things in motion and experimenting and trying new things with that. And as you establish yourself here in your personal life, it's creating the foundation for the career. And we do want to, again, have the balance. We don't want to get too caught up into the fourth house because then it becomes too dense. Right? And we don't want to get too caught up into just the career stuff because then we're losing the grounding, which is in the personal life. So it's all about balance and really seeing them as one and the same. We can't have future productive endeavors if we don't have past foundations or just, our personal life intact and our health intact and our home and family life intact. All right. So that's the balancing point. I think putting even attention on both will be key, particularly Thursday and Friday. Now, Thursday and Friday, Venus squares up to Neptune. So with these new beginnings, again, as they, again, the new beginnings are around the corner, but in this balsamic phase of approaching them, having that acceptance, being okay with uncertainty, with maybe the values that you're deriving from your career with Venus. And again, that's a area of development. Now, Friday and Saturday, we do have Venus then opposing up to Saturn. So with this one, again, balance with the home life and the career life. Maybe even balance with the communication since Venus rules the third. Not knowing exactly how those are unfolding as well. And that's, can be an area of spiritual liberation to free you up there. And then Friday and Saturday, that conjunction between the Sun and Venus is going to be then squaring up to Jupiter in your first house. So here's where Jupiter comes into the whole picture. All right, Jupiter is the benefic. These are the possibilities. This is a more expansive view of life. And even in these, squares, which are the more challenging aspects, it still comes across as we're maybe wanting to have the easy route or to take it easy and to see possibilities. And that it can be constructive. So long as it's, we're actually seeing the possibilities and taking whatever spiritual actions, internal spiritual developmental actions towards cultivating them. And this is a big deal for you guys because you do have Jupiter and the North Node in your sign. This is all about your own goals, your own aspirations. A lot of this opportunity to become more independent in your life, perhaps. All right, so it's watching the extremes of Jupiter, which could be over-optimism here, particularly Friday and Saturday, or not enough. Sometimes it's pessimistic. And balancing that, seeing that life does have possibilities, and yet cultivating them in a slow and steady way, which has been that Saturn squaring Jupiter. And that slow and steady way is what it's really all about. So that's the aspects of the week. And again, new beginnings, all relating to your public life, your career life. And this week, as we approach that, going within, working on ourselves spiritually. And that's all serving the foundation for what is going to be a very constructive, or can be a very constructive, new beginning for your career and public life. All right, so Leos, have a fantastic week. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next week.